Time is not something to manage, but something to buy back. Money can return, but a lost hour never does. This statement offers a completely different perspective on what seemed obvious. For a long time, people spoke of time management as if time were a box to be neatly organized. Yet here, it's presented as an asset, something interchangeable, recoverable by simply making different choices. The book, Buy Back Your Time, is more than just a productivity guide. It's a stark reminder of the relationship between humans and our finite lives. It moves beyond simple tips or sample schedules, instead posing a piercing question. Are we, with our own hands, chaining ourselves to tasks that others could easily do? The book unveils a series of principles and tools: the replacement ladder to escape trivial work, the audit transfer fill loop for continuous liberation, 5 buyback rules to avoid getting stuck, and finally, the journey back to your zone of genius, where work both fuels your energy and creates the greatest impact. Yet, beneath it all lies a simple, brutal truth. Every wasted minute on misplaced tasks is a piece of life you can never reclaim. The question for anyone holding this book isn't how to do more, but rather, if you were given back one truly free hour today, what would you spend it on? A long overdue hug? A forgotten idea? Or would you let it vanish once more in the familiar rush? The answer will likely vary for each person. But precisely for this reason, this book becomes a mirror. It forces every reader to confront the reality that we don't lack time, we simply live the wrong way with time. And the question echoes on the final page: do we have the courage to buy back our lives? Starting today. I vividly remember the first time Stuart came to me. His eyes were hollow, like someone drowning in a nightmare they didn't know how to escape. He confessed he couldn't leave his house for long. Every breath became a struggle. Panic attacks came relentlessly, making him feel like he was slowly dying. Just a few months prior, he had been a man proud of his accomplishments, leading a software company, expanding his team, and serving hundreds of thousands of users daily. But his relentless drive had opened a deep chasm. He worked 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, pouring all his energy into a system restructuring project. When it was finally done, his body collapsed right there in Disneyland, amidst what's supposed to be a paradise of joy. This crisis wasn't random. It was the price of a "I have to do everything, I have to control everything" lifestyle. Many call it a do-it-all mentality. It sounds decisive, but it's actually a trap. It devours energy, erodes relationships, and slowly turns into a prison of our own making. I saw Stuart as a reflection of my younger self years ago. I used to believe that the more I did, the harder I worked, the further my company would go. What were the results? Broken relationships, depleted health, 2 disastrously failed businesses. I discovered a bitter truth. The root of the problem wasn't the work itself, but how I used my time. This led to a new principle that I forced myself to engrave. Don't hire people to expand your company. Hire people to buy back * your own time. If we only focus on recruiting more staff to increase sales, sooner or later, we'll return to the old cycle. The bigger, the more painful. But if we view our time as a finite and most precious asset, we'll look at hiring through a different lens, liberating ourselves from energy-draining tasks to focus on what we do best, love most, and what brings the greatest value. As Stuart listened to my explanation, he was initially skeptical. "I'm used to doing everything myself," he said. "Delegating actually takes more time." But at that very moment, the truth became clear. He was turning himself into the bottleneck, preventing his company from growing. I told him about another concept: the pain threshold. Every entrepreneur will eventually reach it. It's when a business grows to a point where our body, mind, or relationships can no longer bear the strain. This threshold doesn't announce itself with a bell, it arrives like an undertow. For Stuart, it appeared the moment he sat gasping for breath on a bench in Disneyland, his heart no longer obeying him. Upon hitting this threshold, there are typically 3 paths. 1. Sell everything, abandon your brainchild simply because you can't bear the pressure. 2. Destroy it yourself with wrong decisions, like changing product direction or firing staff without cause, only to retreat to a familiar, safe level. 3. Stop, prevent the company from growing further, choosing stability but implicitly accepting a slow decline. All 3 paths stem from the same root cause: the belief that the bigger you get, the more painful it becomes. But what if there's a different paradox? The bigger you get, the more *free* you become? I began to guide Stuart to reevaluate. If he spent all his hours each day on $10-hour tasks, while his true value was $100 hour, he was essentially burning $90 every hour. And more importantly, he was burning through his life. To escape, there was only one way: continuously buy back time with every resource available, using money to delegate tasks, then filling the void with work that generates energy and increases profit. From this, a new cycle emerged, a loop I call the buyback loop: audit, transfer, fill. Stuart tried it, and the results exceeded expectations. In 2 months, he freed up over 30 hours a week. From being bedridden, he returned to being a father, a husband, rediscovering old passions. His company not only survived but tripled its revenue. He realized the secret wasn't to do more, but to choose the right things to do and the right things to let go of. Buying back time was the only way to keep the company growing while still living his own life. Stuart had once thought his problem was simply poor health or bad management, but the truth ran deeper. He was trapped in a dangerous loop. When people face their pain threshold, they often choose instinct over strategy. Many sell everything, seeing it as an escape. Others destroy their businesses with hasty decisions, believing they're innovating, but in reality, they're just evading pressure. Still others choose to stop growing, trying to maintain their company at a manageable size, but effectively slowly decaying. I know this feeling well. I've met hundreds of people in similar situations, and they often repeat the same mistake, believing that growth equals suffering. But I want them to see a different truth. Growth doesn't have to mean pain. It can unlock freedom to break old ways of thinking. I introduce them to a simple yet powerful method: the buyback loop. Its principle is encapsulated in 3 words: audit, transfer, fill. Audit, *, write down every task that consumes your time. Whether it's reading emails, creating invoices, or managing tiny details, this list often astounds people, as they realize they're spending most of their lives on trivial work. Transfer, find the right person to take over those tasks. You don't need to wait until your company is large. Anyone can start by hiring part-time help, outsourcing, or leveraging existing staff. Fill, *, don't just fill the newly created void with meaningless rest, but with investments in activities that bring the highest energy and profit. This could be engaging with strategic clients, developing new products, or simply taking care of yourself to return with greater strength. Many think this is just theory, but look at the clear examples. Warren Buffett does almost only 2 things every day: read and seek investment opportunities. His multi-trillion-dollar empire was built from that, because he eliminated everything that wasn't his greatest strength. Andy Warhol created thousands of artworks by using the factory, a studio where he delegated repetitive tasks to others, allowing him to focus solely on the idea and refinement stages. Tom Clancy evolved from a solo writer into a brand with an entire team of ghostwriters, while he dedicated his time to core creation and film production. All of them, consciously or unconsciously, followed the same logic. To help my students visualize this, I designed an intuitive tool, the RIP matrix. Imagine a chart with 2 axes, one for energy, one for monetary value. When you plot each task on it, a clear picture emerges. The bottom left quadrant is the * delegation quadrant ***, containing tasks that both drain energy and generate no money. This group needs to be eliminated fastest. The bottom right is the replacement quadrant ***, tasks that bring money but exhaust you. These need to be gradually replaced by suitable individuals. The top left is the ** investment quadrant ***, tasks that generate energy but little money, like learning or exploring. You should retain a portion of these because they fuel creativity. The top right is the production quadrant ***, where both energy and money converge. This is the gold mine, the area you must protect and expand. Oprah Winfrey is a vivid example. As a reporter, she hated exploiting others' pain for news. But when she transitioned to hosting her talk show, she shone. That was her production quadrant, where she had both energy and received commensurate value. From there, her career exploded. I also witnessed this with my own brother, Pierce. He was passionate about sales from a young age, able to turn a roadside soda stand into a significant profit. But when he started a construction business, he inadvertently became the one handling paperwork, sweeping construction sites, doing all the things he wasn't good at. The result was imbalance, lack of clients, and near bankruptcy. Only when he returned to his strength in sales and hired others to manage the rest did his business surge, becoming the largest contractor in the region. It's an obvious truth. Each person is truly great at only a few things they love and for which the market pays a high price. The rest are shackles. The RIP matrix is merely a mirror, forcing us to look directly at that truth. Mig, a real estate software owner I coached, used to spend most of his time answering customer support tickets. He thought he was being dedicated, but in reality, he was bogged down in work outside his zone of genius. When he hired an empathetic customer service manager, the results exceeded expectations. Customers were happier, and he had time to focus on growth strategy. Every example leads to a common conclusion. Successful people aren't successful because they do everything, but because they only do their right things. After Stuart understood the RIP matrix and the buyback loop, I told him that even if you know what to do, there are still invisible enemies lurking. I call them the 5-time assassins. They don't appear with a loud clamor, but often subtly infiltrate seemingly harmless moments, silently draining our vitality. The first assassin is small, accumulating commitments asterisk. Every seemingly innocent nod, an extra meeting, a promise to help, an email that needs an immediate reply gradually transforms into a suffocating net. Many believe they are generous and dedicated, but in reality, they are voluntarily surrendering precious pieces of their time. The second is excessive perfectionism asterisk. I've witnessed many entrepreneurs spend hours tweaking a presentation, a website, a detail that ultimately has little impact on the final outcome. This craving for perfection makes them prisoners of their own making. They forget that the market doesn't pay for endless meticulousness, but for value and speed. The third is procrastination disguised as busyness asterisk. Many avoid important tasks by plunging into dozens of trivial ones. They think they're working hard, but in reality, they're just avoiding the fear of confronting something big. Outwardly, they may seem dynamic, but inwardly, they are hollow. The fourth is lack of boundaries asterisk. Phones ring incessantly, messages pop up on screen. All of these become wide-open doors for others to invade your schedule. If you don't learn to say no, you're allowing the whole world to steer your ship. The final assassin is lack of systems asterisk. When everything only exists in your head, work devolves into chaos. You become the bottleneck, and every time someone needs an answer, you have to intervene instead of building mechanisms for others to operate independently. You pull yourself into an inescapable vortex. Recognizing these 5 assassins is the first step, but to go further, we need to understand another principle. Everything in life is an exchange. Not every transaction holds equal value. I've distilled this into 3 core time transactions. These choices will determine whether you soar or get stuck. First, exchange money for time. This is a fundamental step, yet few dare to take it. Many would rather spend hours cleaning or dealing with paperwork instead of paying someone else to do it. They don't understand that by spending money, we are buying back opportunities to live, to create, to do what we do best. Second, exchange time for skills. There are phases where you must accept dedicating time to learning, experimenting, and failing. This isn't waste, it's an investment. The time you put in today is the foundation for earning more money in fewer hours later. Third, exchange skills for money and greater opportunities. Once you have expertise, you shouldn't keep it to yourself on a small scale. You need to use that skill to expand your sphere of influence, create systems, teams, or products. That's how you turn a skill into leverage. These 3 transactions may seem simple, but they are the foundation for breaking the "I have to do everything" trap. Imagine someone who would rather spend 10 hours designing a logo themselves when their hourly rate could generate thousands of dollars. Clearly, he's losing both money and energy. Conversely, a wise entrepreneur will pay a few $100s to a design expert while spending their own time meeting clients and signing major contracts. The paradox lies here. The more you fear losing money, the more you actually lose. because every hour you spend working on the wrong thing is an hour you lose a greater opportunity. When I shared this, many people had an epiphany. They began to look at each day as a series of transactions. The question was no longer, how much can I do? But, am I making the right exchanges? Stewart, after his crisis, tested this principle. Instead of booking his own flights, scheduling, and handling emails, he hired an assistant. The initial cost made him hesitate, but then he realized that every hour saved could be spent negotiating with strategic partners. Within just a few months, the results showed he hadn't lost anything. He had gained much more. That's the power of viewing time as a currency. And when you know how to transact wisely, you'll see the door to freedom open right before your eyes. Having understood time transactions, I knew I needed to buy back time, but where do I start? That's the question almost every entrepreneur grapples with, knowing they need to delegate but unsure what to delegate first and what next. Done incorrectly, it can lead to wasted money or even greater chaos. I answer this with a simple image: the replacement ladder ***. Imagine a ladder where each rung represents a type of work you need to gradually let go of. You can't jump from the bottom to the top in one leap. You need to progress from low-value, low-skill tasks to more critical responsibilities. The first rung consists of mundane administrative tasks: scheduling, answering emails, processing invoices, booking flights. This is the easiest layer of work to outsource or delegate to an assistant. These tasks don't create significant value, but consume many hours of your day. The second rung is for repetitive operational tasks: basic customer service, data entry, drafting standard contracts, product packaging. These require processes, but once clear processes are established, any moderately skilled staff member can perform them. The third rung covers specialized tasks you previously handled yourself: coding, design, project management, or general sales. As your company begins to grow, you must find professionals to replace you. Otherwise, you'll remain stuck in the cycle of being the best individual contributor on the team, but never having time to lead. The higher rung involves middle management. Once you have a team, you must find individuals capable of leading in your stead. This is a challenging step because it demands trust. Many fail here because they want to control every detail, resulting in both exhaustion and a lack of true accountability. Finally, at the *top of the ladder ***, you retain only the unique tasks that no one else can replace you in: strategic thinking, visionary creation, and critical relationships. This is your production quadrant in the RIP matrix, where you generate maximum value with maximum energy. To help students easily apply this, I introduced a technique called the * camcorder method ***. The idea is simple. Whenever you perform a task you want to delegate, record the process on video. Don't worry about writing lengthy, detailed procedures. Just capture how you actually do it. This video then becomes training material that new employees can watch, follow, and adapt. You won't have to explain things dozens of times. Stewart applied this method, recording himself checking code, responding to customers, and arranging meeting schedules. In just a few weeks, he had an entire library of guides that any new employee could use to learn. As a result, he freed up dozens of hours each week. The power of the replacement ladder lies in its gradual progression. You don't need to wait until you have a large company to start. Even a freelancer can try it. Hire someone for accounting, delegate email handling to a contractor, or use a virtual assistant for scheduling. Gradually, you'll see yourself climbing each rung, and each rung opens up more space for freedom. There's an interesting paradox. Many believe delegating means losing control, but the reality is the opposite. The more effectively you delegate, the more control you retain at a higher level. Because then, you're not bogged down in details but can see the big picture and steer strategy, like a skilled chess player who doesn't run around the board moving pieces but sits calmly and gives commands at the right time. I've also witnessed many young entrepreneurs fail because they didn't understand this ladder. They jumped straight to a high rung, hiring senior managers without a foundation, resulting in wasted money and increased chaos. Or conversely, they lingered too long on the lower rungs, afraid to step up, and ended up buried in minor tasks for years. The secret is to take one step at a time, but never stop. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, Which task is preventing me from moving to the next rung? Then find a way to replace it. When Stewart fully applied this, he went from taking on everything to retaining only strategic decisions. His company not only didn't collapse but grew faster. Because now, instead of one brilliant individual doing everything, he had an entire team operating smoothly. More importantly, he reclaimed his personal life, something he thought he had lost forever. From identifying the pain threshold, understanding the buyback loop, classifying work with the RIP matrix, avoiding the 5-time assassins, making smart time transactions, to climbing the replacement ladder. All of it isn't about doing less, but about living more. I once sat across from a young entrepreneur who had just secured a multi-million-dollar funding round. His eyes gleamed with pride, but his voice was weary and shaky. He lamented that he barely had time to breathe, let alone think long-term for his company. I asked, "Who controls your email inbox?" He replied, "I do." I asked again, "Who schedules meetings, books flights, and answers administrative messages?" He hesitated, then forced a laugh. "Always me." I shook my head. If you're still handling your own emails, calendar, and administration, you're acting as your own assistant. And worst of all, you're a very expensive assistant. Here, a concept emerges that many shy away from, the big R, return on investment. Imagine that each hour of your work generates $2,500 in value, yet you spend one of those hours arranging a flight. In essence, you just paid $2,500 to save $200 by not outsourcing. This calculation isn't just illogical, it's energy eroding. I emphasized to him that an assistant isn't a luxury expense but a vital leverage point. Consider 3 reasons. First, they execute without emotional baggage ***. You might be obsessed with every detail, fearing oversights, but an assistant simply completes the task as instructed. Second, they adhere to rules better than you do ***. Founders often break their own rules due to emotion. Assistants, however, steadfastly apply established guidelines, thus maintaining stable operations. Finally, they don't drop the ball ***. When you're busy, tasks can easily vanish into a black hole of forgetfulness. With an assistant, everything is tracked and closed on time. Many object, "I'm not big enough to hire an assistant." But the truth is, they're trapped in a vicious cycle. Precisely because they don't dare to hire, they can't grow bigger. CEOs who command thousands of dollars an hour yet still draft their own schedules and book their own flights are, in effect, burning money. They cling to $10 tasks while missing out on million-dollar opportunities. A female founder I once advised, Christine, is a perfect example. She managed a rapidly growing e-commerce startup but spent hours each day processing returns and answering customer emails. She believed this was necessary to be thorough and professional. After a few months, she was exhausted and her company stagnated. When I pushed her to hire a full-time assistant, she hesitated, fearing the cost. But just 3 weeks later, the results far exceeded expectations. Orders were processed faster, customers were happier, and she had the time to sign the largest distribution deal in the company's history. The issue wasn't money, it was energy. Think about it. Do you want to expend your creative energy sifting through every email or use it to devise market expansion strategies? If you choose the former, you're turning yourself into a low-level employee in your own company. I also recall a conversation with Miranda, a tech entrepreneur. After selling her first company, she built an ambitious new product, but within months, she admitted to me that she was drowning in administrative arrangements. She hired a part-time assistant, then moved to full-time. The results were clear. Her creative energy returned and the company thrived. She laughed, saying, "The funny thing is, I used to think hiring an assistant was a luxury. Now I see that not having an assistant is the real luxury when you're still trying to do everything yourself. It means you're not ready to lead. Your company doesn't need another cheap laborer, it needs a leader. And to become a leader, you must escape low-level tasks." In my coaching, I often ask students to create a 2-column chart, one column for their actual hourly value, the other for the tasks they're still doing themselves. The discrepancy is always shocking. A fintech founder once calculated that he spent over 20 hours a week on administrative work. When converted, he was burning nearly $50,000 a month just to manage his own schedule. The answer isn't to do more, but to let go to liberate yourself. a good assistant can become your external memory, your scheduling coordinator, your executive arm, while you free your mind for things only you can do. Creativity, strategy, crucial relationships. Yet some still hesitate. They fear losing control, fear others will mess things up. But remember, you the founder are often the biggest rule breaker. You're the one who lets things fall through the cracks because you're too busy. Your assistant isn't plagued by sentimentality or fear. They simply do their job thoroughly, and that makes all the difference. Stuart, whom I spoke of earlier, finally hired an assistant. He later admitted, "This was the most important decision of my career." His company no longer relied on a single person, and more importantly, he reclaimed his time to do what he did best: expand his vision. This is the starting point for anyone who wants to escape their self-made prison. Stop being your own assistant. Once you've decided to delegate low-value tasks, the next question always arises: how can I be sure others will do it exactly as I want? This is a constant fear for many entrepreneurs. They believe only they know how to do things precisely, while others will always fall short. But this very thought traps them in a vicious cycle. The solution lies in a surprisingly simple method, the asterisk camcorder method ***. I often ask students, whenever they perform any task from drafting contracts, processing reports, to posting content on social media to open-screen recording software. As they work, they verbalize their entire thought process. Every click, why they chose this button over that, any small warnings they want to note. Everything is recorded. The magic here is that you don't need to write out detailed step-by-step procedures, you just do your work as usual. The video itself becomes a packaged stream of thought. Then, you give the video to the person receiving the task. They watch and practice, and they are the ones who draft the written instructions. Once complete, you just need to do a final review. This method liberates you from the obsession of writing the perfect playbook. The person doing the work is the one writing the playbook, while you act only as a coach and approver. This creates two benefits. You save time, and your staff internalize the knowledge more deeply because they've systematized it themselves. Over time, these videos transform into a living library of documentation. Whenever a new employee joins, you don't have to painstakingly handhold them through every detail. Just have them watch the old camcorder recordings, read the existing playbook, and dive straight into practice. I often tell students, start with just one playbook. Choose the task you hate most, repeat most, or that consumes the most time. Record it 3 times, give it to a team member, and you've permanently eliminated one of your shackles. Then, continue one task at a time. To make this system truly robust, I've developed a standard framework called the *4C camcorder playbook ***. Camcorder * record the entire process. Course * organize the videos and notes into a mini-course format that anyone can learn from. Cadence * periodically review and update as processes change. Checklist * finally, a checklist that helps everyone easily assess whether the task has been completed correctly. When you apply the 4CS, the playbook is no longer a rigid stack of papers, but a living document that continuously adapts to your evolving company. I remember a student in my coaching program, CA, a marketing agency. She used to spend hours reviewing employee posts, believing no one understood the brand's style as well as she did. I pressed her to try the camcorder method. Initially, she recorded herself editing a post, explaining why she changed one word to another or which color suited the target audience. Weeks later, her staff had created a detailed playbook on brand voice and a checklist for each type of content. As a result, CA no longer had to approve every single post, but simply read summary reports. The secret here is turning individual knowledge into collective assets. When everyone shares a common language and standards, the company no longer depends on the memory or inspiration of a single individual. Many worry that building a playbook will make things unnatural or stifle creativity. In reality, the opposite is true. A playbook doesn't kill creativity, it eliminates waste. What requires creativity, new ideas, new strategies, you still hold on to. As for the repetitive, tedious parts, let the system handle them. I often compare it to a band. The music is composed by the songwriter. But for a successful performance, each musician must know the correct rhythm and melody. The playbook is that shared sheet music. Thanks to it, the whole team can play in harmony, and you, the leader, don't have to run from the violin section to the drums to adjust every single beat. And once you have a few basic playbooks, scaling up is no longer a nightmare. You just need to add people, integrate them into the system, and the work flows smoothly. That's the difference between a company reliant on individuals and an organization that can grow without limits. One day, you wake up and realize you no longer control your time. Your inbox is overflowing with emails, your phone vibrates incessantly, messages pile up, and every meeting wedges itself into your sparse openings. You sit down at your desk, open your calendar, and sigh. It feels like being thrown into a labyrinth where every turn is dictated by someone else. Years ago, I was like that too. I let others drive my schedule, and each day felt like a sprint without a finish line. Then I realized, if you don't design your time, someone else will do it for you. The solution doesn't come from running faster, but from a new mindset. The perfect week, your own perfect week. Start with a simple question. What time of day do you have the most energy? For some, it's early morning when their mind is clear and calm. For others, it might be the evening, when the world quiets down and creativity awakens. The crucial thing is to recognize your own energy rhythm. From there, arrange your schedule according to that rhythm. Your most important tasks, creative, strategic, decision-making, must be placed squarely in your highest energy zones. Don't let your golden hours be filled with tedious meetings. Conversely, when your energy is low, that's the ideal time for repetitive, procedural tasks. By matching tasks to your energy flow, you transform each day into a harmonious symphony instead of chaos. I once conducted a small experiment with my students. I sent an impromptu meeting invitation to see how they would react. The reactive ones would immediately say, "I can squeeze it into my schedule." They believed this was flexibility, but in reality, it was a loss of control. The proactive ones were different. They would say, "Yes, I have a slot on Tuesday at 10:00 a.m. or Thursday at 3:00 p.m., which works better for you." The difference is stark. One side is swept along, the other controls the flow. Reactive people live in busyness, proactive people live in freedom. Building a perfect week isn't just about blocking out external demands, it's a commitment to yourself. You commit to dedicating fixed hours to your family, your health, your personal development. I know a CEO who always blocks out 7:00 a.m. for his workout. No matter who wants to schedule with him, that time slot is always inviolable. As a result, he's maintained his physical fitness, focus, and mental clarity for years. Someone once asked me, "Isn't that too rigid?" I replied, "On the contrary, that is freedom. Because within that framework, you know exactly what's coming, and you can be creative within it." A violinist doesn't see sheet music as confinement. The music staff helps him create the melody. Transforming your calendar from a prison into a sanctuary, that's the goal when a schedule is designed correctly. It's no longer a series of constraints, but a sturdy framework that keeps you from being pulled aimlessly. Try drawing out your ideal week. Mark your golden hours for crucial work, set aside fixed slots for family, for rest, periodically review and adjust it with the flow of life, and most importantly, learn to say no to what doesn't fit. One of my students was a production director in the film industry. He was used to working 16 hours a day, believing it demonstrated dedication. After adopting the perfect week concept, he began redesigning his schedule. Fixed meetings on 2 mornings, afternoons dedicated to creative work and editing, and evenings for family time. After just 1 month, he admitted that his energy had returned, projects were completed faster, and his family relationships had revived. When you design your week, you're not just changing your schedule, you're reshaping your life. If the perfect week is the skeleton, then for it to operate smoothly, you need lean tools, pieces that ensure the flow isn't interrupted. I call these the *4 essential time hacks you need. The first hack sounds simple, but has changed my entire company culture. The $50 magic pill ***. I used to find myself constantly interrupted because employees needed approval for small expenses, buying office supplies, ordering software, short-term services. Each interruption, though only a few minutes, cumulatively destroyed my focus. The solution was to grant assistance or managers discretionary spending power up to a predefined limit. If it's under $50, just do it, don't ask me. That amount is negligible compared to the cost of lost focus, and as a result, I freed up hours each week. Empowering small expenditures is the magic bullet against interruptions. The second hack is streamline meetings with a fixed agenda. Many people hate meetings because they're rambling and never-ending. I created a short weekly meeting template with just 7 items. Review the next 2 weeks' schedule, summarize past meetings, check the current task list, project feedback round, approve important emails, answer quick questions, and finally, update on next actions. Just 20-30 minutes. But thanks to its repetitive nature, both my assistant and I grasped the rhythm of the work. No need to drag it out. A concise meeting with a clear structure saves dozens of hours of chaos. The third hack is the definition of done. I used to encounter situations where employees would submit work and I couldn't tell if it was truly finished. For example, I'd ask them to buy a whiteboard, they'd buy it, but it wouldn't be hung, nor would there be markers or an eraser. Technically, done, but in reality, not. I realized the fault wasn't theirs but mine. I hadn't clearly defined what done meant. From then on, every task was described on 3 levels. FX, the facts, specific conditions that must be met, feeling, the desired experience or outcome upon completion, and finish, the clear, ultimate state. Once the team agrees on the definition, there are no more arguments, no more dropped balls. The final hack is the 1-3-1 rule. When encountering a problem, employees are not allowed to simply state the problem. They must propose 3 plausible solutions and 1 concrete recommendation. By doing so, they develop problem-solving thinking habits and don't push the burden back onto you. I call this the antidote to upward delegation, the illness where everyone just passes problems up the chain. The 1-3-1 rule transforms every issue into an opportunity for team growth. When these 4 hacks are applied, you'll realize your company begins to operate like a well-oiled machine. You're no longer bogged down in trivial decisions, lengthy meetings, or vague definitions. Instead, everyone acts clearly, consistently, with authority and responsibility. But there's one more factor: hiring the right people from the start. Nothing is more costly than a wrong hiring decision. It doesn't just drain money, it depletes time, leading to countless repercussions: retraining, fixing mistakes, even firing and rehiring. To avoid this vortex, I adopted a philosophy called test first hiring . Instead of relying on resumes or interviews, I always start with a small, practical test that accurately reflects the job the person will do. For example, if hiring an assistant, I have them process a series of sample emails, arrange a hypothetical schedule, and create a short report. After just a few days of testing, I know if they are truly a good fit. Alongside this, I introduced 6 hiring rules. 1. Hire someone better than you in that specific area so they don't need constant hand-holding. 2. Start small, then expand to mitigate large risks. 3. Focus on attitude over skills because skills can be trained, but attitude is hard to change. 4. Always test before signing a long-term contract. 5. Build trust through results, not promises. 6. Finally, you must also step into the arena, meaning be ready to invest effort in building processes and providing initial support, rather than delegating and then abandoning. I've seen many entrepreneurs transform their lives simply by changing their hiring approach. A student in the real estate industry once complained, "I've hired 3 assistants, but everyone quit." By applying test-first hiring, he hired someone who not only performed tasks thoroughly, but also became a long-term, invaluable right hand. Hiring the right person is the highest level of buying back time, because each suitable individual not only frees you up, but also multiplies the capacity of the entire company. There's a common paradox. Even after escaping trivial tasks, mastering their schedule, and building systems, many people still feel stuck. They're no longer as busy as before, and their company operates more smoothly, but a heavy feeling persists in their hearts. This isn't physical exhaustion, but a vague sense that they're not truly living aligned with their core values. I've witnessed countless entrepreneurs go through this state. They've hired assistants, have playbooks, and a perfect week. Yet when they sit down, they still feel empty. The reason lies in stopping at the asterisk replacement quadrant asterisk, a zone where work still generates profit but isn't where they excel most, nor what brings them the highest energy. Doing useful work isn't necessarily doing the asterisk right asterisk work. That's the new trap. Instead of being buried in minutiae, they are now held captive by relatively important, relatively profitable tasks, but not where they shine brightest. To escape, I reintroduce them to a familiar yet timeless tool, the replacement ladder asterisk asterisk. Many have applied it at a basic level, but haven't fully grasped its power. This ladder isn't just for low-level tasks. It's a means to gradually climb to the summit, where you dedicate your time to your most creative and impactful zone of genius. Imagine you're standing on a middle rung. Below you are the tasks that have been replaced: administrative, repetitive, mid-level technical work. Above you are higher-level responsibilities: leadership, creativity, vision setting. Many stop in the middle because they're comfortable doing what they're good at. They're good at marketing, good at sales, good at coding, and believe the company still needs them there. But that very proficiency becomes a shackle. Because every hour you spend doing something others can learn and do well is an hour you lose the opportunity to do the one thing only you can do. I once met a software company founder who prided himself on coding every day. This kept him close to the product, but simultaneously bound him to technical problems that his engineering team could solve. His company didn't need another great programmer. It needed a leader who could see the future of the market. The replacement ladder forces you to confront the truth. To advance, you must let go of even the things you're good at. Each rung is a reminder that nothing is static. If you stubbornly cling to tasks, you'll get stuck on the middle rung, where success is just enough to be comforting but not enough for a breakthrough. Conversely, when you bravely climb to a new rung, you unlock a different horizon. You gain more space for strategy, for creativity, for key relationships. You escape the trap of being useful to reach what's called genius. Stuart, whom I mentioned earlier, after buying back time by hiring an assistant and building systems, still felt something was missing. He confided that he spent most of his days managing the engineering team, reviewing progress, and handling product meetings. All of it was important, but he knew it wasn't where he truly shone. When I compelled him to apply the replacement ladder once more, he gradually delegated even technical management, which he had previously thought irreplaceable. The results were astonishing. Not only did he gain more time for company vision, but he also signed the largest partnership agreement since founding his company. The hardest thing isn't delegating tasks you hate, but delegating tasks you once loved and did well. But that very moment is what determines whether you can ascend to a higher level. Many believe climbing the ladder means losing their identity. In reality, it's a journey to rediscover a deeper identity. You're no longer the one clinging to every detail, but the one setting the direction. You're no longer the best worker, but the conductor leading the entire orchestra. And that's just the beginning. Because when you escape the stuck state, you'll see more clearly the land you need to step into, where energy and profit intersect, where work is no longer a burden but a natural flow. One of the most common mistakes entrepreneurs make is thinking that the replacement ladder is only for minor tasks. They easily delegate administrative work, email handling, booking tickets, even basic customer service. But when it comes to more complex tasks, coding, marketing, managing teams, they immediately stop. They believe, this is what I'm best at, no one can replace me. The truth is, if you can't let go of the things you're good at, you'll never step onto a higher rung. This ladder doesn't distinguish between big or small tasks. It only asks, is this where you create the greatest value? Let's return to the fundamental principle, Dan Sullivan's Audit Transfer Fill Framework asterisk. Audit is to reflect on how much time and energy the tasks you're holding on to consume. Transfer is to delegate it to someone else, not immediately entirely, but through a process of guidance, experimentation, and adjustment. Fill asterisk is to fill the void with activities that bring more value, both in terms of profit and emotional fulfillment. At each rung of the ladder, you must repeat this cycle. And each time, you'll feel a wrench because the higher you climb, the closer the tasks you need to release are to your old identity. The hardest thing isn't letting go of tasks you hate, but letting go of tasks you once loved. I once worked with an e-commerce company founder. She came from a marketing background, and thanks to her talent, the company grew very rapidly. But even after reaching tens of millions in revenue, she still clung to advertising campaigns and reviewed every design sample. She didn't believe anyone could do it as well as her. As a result, the marketing team lost motivation, and other departments lacked leadership. Only when she let go and hired a full-authority marketing director did the company break through, expanding into many new markets. The fear of losing control is a stumbling block. Many believe that if they don't intervene, everything will collapse. But in reality, clinging to control prevents the system from ever maturing. A team can only grow when empowered, and that empowerment only comes when you dare to step onto a new rung. The replacement ladder also shows that what was once a golden zone yesterday can become a burden today. Perhaps you were once the best salesperson in your company, signing the first contracts. But if after 5 years you're still topping the sales charts, your company is stuck. Because your role isn't to be the best salesperson, it's to build the best sales team. I often remind students, don't let past success become an excuse to hold you back. The biggest risk isn't failure, but succeeding at the wrong things. The better you are, the harder it is to let go, and that's precisely the trap. There was a tech engineer I coached, the founder of a data platform. He was technically brilliant to the point that his entire team admired him, calling him the main brain. But as the company grew, he still personally coded bug fixes and participated in every technical review. He believed that if he stepped away, quality would suffer. But precisely because of this, his company couldn't raise large capital. Investors saw it as entirely dependent on one person. Only when he dared to hire a CTO and stepped back, focusing on vision and strategic relationships, did the company secure a $100 million funding round. The replacement ladder doesn't promise ease, it promises growth. Climbing each rung is a process of letting go, sometimes painful. But each time you let go, you unlock a new level of freedom. Remember, this ladder has no fixed stopping point. Every time you climb, you see a new level to aspire to. The important thing is never to stop in the middle, never to let comfort become a chain. On the journey of applying the replacement ladder, I realized something. Many people know they need to climb, but they easily fall back into old habits. They start enthusiastically, delegate a few tasks, then revert to their old ways. To avoid this loop, I've distilled it into ***5 buyback rules, a compass to never stray from the right path. Rule 1, start with small, easy-to-delegate tasks. Many hear about buyback and think they immediately need to delegate massive workloads, hiring an entire new team. Then they get overwhelmed, discouraged, and go back to doing everything themselves. The truth is the opposite. Choose a simple, daily, repetitive task, for example, managing your calendar or data entry, and delegate it. The feeling of liberation, even for just a few hours, will build the confidence to push further. Rule 2, follow the order of the replacement ladder. If you skip rungs, ignoring low-level tasks and rushing to delegate high-level ones, the system will descend into chaos. I once saw a small entrepreneur immediately hire an executive director without having basic playbooks or an administrative assistant. As a result, the director just sat waiting for instructions, and the company wasted a huge amount of money for nothing. You must climb the ladder one step at a time. You cannot skip stages. Rule 3, let go of even the tasks you were once good at. This is the hardest bottleneck. People often cling to old talents as proof of their self-worth. But as I've emphasized, what was an advantage yesterday can become a shackle today. If you continue to embrace the role of the best individual contributor on the team, you are refusing the role of a true leader. Rule 4, always let emotions and energy guide you, not just financial metrics. Ask yourself, does this task give me energy or drain me? If it drains you, find a way to delegate it, even if it generates money. A task that brings in money but kills your energy is like taking out a predatory loan. It will eventually collapse. Rule 5, maintain the audit transfer fill loop. This isn't a one-and-done exercise, it's a continuous life cycle. Every quarter, review the list of tasks you're doing. What has become a burden? What can be transferred? And when filling the void, ensure those activities are in your highest value zone. I once met a healthcare entrepreneur who fell into the trap of succeeding at the wrong things. His company thrived thanks to his excellent sales skills, but instead of delegating this area, he held tightly to it, personally meeting every client and signing every contract. The result was increased revenue, but he was exhausted and his family suffered. He was living proof that the biggest risk isn't failure, but success in the wrong endeavors. When he applied the 5 rules, everything changed. He started small, hiring an assistant to manage his schedule, then gradually built playbooks for the sales team. He let go of the work he was good at, empowering a sales director. He chose tasks that nourished his energy, building partnerships, finding expansion opportunities, and he consistently maintained the audit transfer fill loop. As a result, his company grew faster while he rediscovered personal balance. The buyback rules aren't just management principles, they're a protective barrier against the habit of self-imprisonment. They remind you that every decision isn't just about earning more money, but about buying back your life. When you consistently follow these 5 rules, you'll discover a special place where work is no longer a burden, but a source of joy and energy. That is the destination I'm about to discuss. After climbing each rung of the replacement ladder and consistently applying the buyback loop, you will gradually behold a territory you rarely stepped into before, your asterisk zone of genius ***. This isn't just where you're good. It's where you are brilliant, passionate, and create the greatest value for the world. Many believe that simply doing profitable work is enough. But profit isn't sustainable if it goes against your natural energy flow. You might endure for a while, but sooner or later your body and mind will rebel. Your zone of genius is the intersection of 3 elements: innate talent, intrinsic joy, and external impact. When you're in this zone, work doesn't deplete you, it energizes you. Every hour spent working is an hour you live authentically. I met a female entrepreneur in the education sector who used to be swamped managing teams, handling budgets, and running projects. But when she started letting go and returned to her zone of genius, designing training programs and inspiring students, her energy exploded. Her company not only grew, but became a nationally influential brand. The secret isn't to do more, it's to do the *right* work. It's important to remember, the zone of genius isn't fixed. What ignited your passion yesterday might become a chain today. You must continuously audit and adjust. What was once a passion can become a binding habit if you don't recognize it in time. Therefore, view your zone of genius as an ongoing journey of discovery, not an immutable destination. And once you choose to live fully within that zone of genius, new doors will open. The empire building I speak of isn't just a colossal company or vast wealth. A true empire is your life built on a foundation of freedom. When you've bought back your time, you can invest it in what matters most: family, health, community, and the legacy you leave for future generations. I once asked a student, if you had an extra 10 hours each week today, what would you do? He replied, I'd play with my children more, learn the musical instrument I've always dreamed of, and start a nonprofit project for underprivileged children. That is the answer to empire building. Buying back time isn't about doing less, it's about living more. You can use that time to build your company, expand your business, but you can also use it to write a book, build a school, or simply be present in the quiet moments you always missed before. Your empire doesn't have to resemble anyone else's. It could be a global corporation, or it could be a warm family and a small community you inspire. The crucial thing isn't the scale, but the fact that you've chosen to live life on your own terms, no longer bound by an endless treadmill. I know some will ask, is all this too idealistic? The answer is no, because it doesn't require miracles. It only requires you to start with small steps on the replacement ladder, apply the 5 buyback rules, and continuously adjust to stay in your zone of genius. It's not idealism, it's an equation proven by thousands of entrepreneurs I've worked with. Empire building doesn't come from a single leap, but from a series of small decisions, everyday decisions to buy back each piece of your life. And in the end, my simplest message is, don't buy back time just to fill it with more work. Buy back time to expand your life, because true success isn't about how much you do but how much you live. It's time to conclude, but concluding doesn't mean ending. A book like this isn't meant to be read and then shelved, it's meant to be a reflective mirror. What appears in that mirror isn't just how we organize work, but how we organize life. The biggest lesson is that time is never truly lost. It's only we who let others spend it for us. When we constantly chase after what needs to be done, we forget that what's valuable isn't the quantity of tasks completed, but the quality of moments lived. Buy back your time doesn't call on us to escape work, but compels us to ask, is asterisk this work, is asterisk this asterisk way of living truly what I want to exchange for my finite life? Perhaps you once thought doing better faster was the answer. But the paradox lies in this. The more you try to cram in, the further you drift from what truly matters. The solution isn't in speed, but in the courage to let go. Letting go isn't weakness. It's the realization that your greatest value lies elsewhere, higher, deeper. From this book, we learn a series of tools, from the replacement ladder, the audit transfer fill loop, the buyback rules, to the zone of genius. But if we only view them as management tricks, we miss their profound meaning. They are not meant to turn us into efficiency machines, but to unlock the ability to live a more complete life, with time for loved ones, space for creativity, and the courage to build a unique legacy. And now the question isn't whether you understand this book, but what you will do with the time you've just bought back. Will you fill it with more meetings, more reports, more contracts? Or will you let it become an afternoon playing with your children, a trip with your partner, or a forgotten idea? Ask yourself, if today you could reclaim just 1 hour that truly belongs to you, what would you dedicate it to? And if you can't answer immediately, perhaps that's the sign you've let others control your time for too long. This book places in your hands not just a method, but a map. But a map is meaningless if you don't take the first step. That first action might be small, hiring an assistant for emails, recording a playbook video, or blocking out time for a family meal. But it is from these small steps that you will open up a long path, a path that leads you back to yourself. I only want to leave you with one thought. Time cannot be bought with money, but you can change how you use money, how you use your effort to buy back time. The only question is, do you dare to begin?